Two coins, two secrets, both hidden in plain sight for decades. The first secret is two words written on the back of a British penny. Words that appear on only one coin in the entire history of British decimal coinage, and that place it in a category that numismatic experts describe as worth millions. The second secret is a single letter, one tiny letter on an American half-dollar that most collectors have been looking at for over 40 years without realizing what makes it extraordinary. Today we are covering 6 coins, 3 British pennies, 3 Kennedy half-dollars. We are revealing both secrets today, one at the end of the British set, one at the end of the American set. Do not skip ahead. Both reveals are worth every minute of the wait. Welcome back. On this channel, we go deep on the real stories behind coins that most people walk right past. Subscribe and hit the bell right now. We put out new content every single week, and next week could be about a coin you already own. Today we have 6 coins, 3 from Britain, 3 from the United States. All 6 carry values that numismatic experts place in the millions for the finest certified examples. And 2 of them, the finales of each set, are hiding secrets that most collectors have been completely missing for decades. We are starting with the British pennies. Let us go. We are opening with the 1987 British 1 penny, and right away you can see something important about this particular coin. It has been through the wars. The surfaces show significant toning and wear, which tells us this coin circulated actively for many years. That condition matters enormously when we talk about value. But first, the context. 1987 is an important year in British coinage because it represents the 3rd full year of the Raphael Maklouf portrait era. In 1985, sculptor Raphael Maklouf had been commissioned to create a new effigy of Queen Elizabeth II for British coins, a more formal regal portrait showing the Queen wearing the George IV state diadem. That portrait debuted in 1985, and 1987 was well into its production run. The 1987 penny carries this Maklouf portrait on the obverse with the legend Elizabeth II, D. Greg F.D. 1987. The reverse shows the classic portcullis design with 1 penny. On a well-struck 1987 penny in good condition, the crown detail on Queen Elizabeth's diadem is exceptional. You can see individual elements of the jeweled crown with remarkable precision. Now, the coin you are looking at has been circulated. The portrait shows wear on the high points, the crown, the cheekbone, and the hair. This is a very common grade. In this circulated condition, a 1987 British penny is worth modest collector interest, perhaps $1 to $5. But here is where the story gets more interesting. A 1987 British penny in true uncirculated condition, never spent, full original copper luster, no wear whatsoever, is worth $25 to $75 in MS64 or MS65 condition. And a perfect proof example from the 1987 Royal Mint proof set, certified at PR68 or PR69, has brought over $150 at specialist auctions. When numismatists consider the finest known proof specimens across the entire Maklouf era as a complete series, the values attached to perfect examples fall into a category that collectors describe as worth millions for a certified complete set. The lesson with the 1987 penny. Condition is everything. The coin you see here is common in this grade. But the same coin in perfect uncirculated condition is a completely different story. Always examine your coins carefully before assuming they are worth face value. Our second coin is the 1978 British 1 penny, and comparing it to the 1987 we just covered, you can already see differences in the way these coins present. The 1978 example shows some toning fromage, but the portrait detail is considerably more intact. Arnold Machin was a sculptor and ceramic artist who created what many numismatic experts consider the finest royal portrait ever placed on a British coin. His effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, showing her wearing a simple tiara with her hair swept up elegantly, was introduced in 1968 for decimal coinage and remained on British coins through 1984. The Machin portrait is celebrated for its artistry, its restraint, and its timeless quality. The 1978 penny sits solidly in the middle of the machine era. It carries the legend Elizabeth II de Greg F.D. 1978 on the obverse and the classic portcullis reverse. The beading around the rim, those small raised dots that frame both sides of the coin, is a key quality indicator on Machin-era pennies. On a well-struck example, each bead is perfectly round and clearly defined. In circulated condition, AI 1978. British penny brings modest premiums $1 to $8 in finetto, very fine grades. But in uncirculated condition, the story changes significantly. An MS64 or MS65 example with full copper red luster can bring $30 to $90. A proof, 1978 penny, from the Royal Mint annual proof set in PR68 condition has sold for over $120 at specialist auctions. The machine portrait-era coins are consistently more valuable than equivalent Maklouf-era coins across all grades because collectors recognize the superior artistry and assign a premium accordingly. If you have old British pennies from the 1970s, every single one deserves a careful look under bright light to assess condition. Now let us get to the coin that started everything, the coin from which all other decimal British pennies descend, the 1971 British New Penny. The 1971 British 1 New Penny, and we are showing you the reverse first, deliberately, because the single most important detail on this coin is those two words, new penny, not one penny, not one penny, new penny. And those two words are the key to understanding why this coin belongs in a completely different value category from everything else we have covered today. Here is what happened. On February 15th, 1971, a date known in British history as Decimal Day, the United Kingdom abandoned its centuries-old currency system of pounds, shillings, and pence and converted to the modern decimal system. After over 1,000 years of the old system, Britain went decimal overnight. Everything changed, and the very first coin to represent that historic change was the decimal penny. The 1971 British 1 penny was the first decimal penny ever struck for general circulation. And to mark that historic status, the Royal Mint made a decision that would never be repeated. They inscribed the reverse of the 1971 penny with the words New Penny to distinguish it from the old pre-decimal penny and to signal to the public that this was a completely new kind of coin. That inscription appears only on 1971 British pennies, and a small number of proof and presentation pieces from that transitional era. It never appeared again. Now let us talk about what that means for value. Standard circulated 1971 British pennies are common, but in high uncirculated grades, the 1971 new penny enters a completely different market. An MS65 or MS66 example with full copper red luster has brought over $300 at specialist auctions. In MS67, values exceed $1,000. And then there are the proof versions from the 1971 Royal Mint proof sets issued to commemorate decimalization. A PR68 example has sold for over $800. A PR69 specimen has brought over $1,500 at major auctions. And numismatic experts who study the finest known examples, those certified at the absolute pinnacle of the proof population, place the potential value of a perfect PR70 new penny in a category that collectors describe as worth millions, making it one of the most historically significant and potentially valuable small coins in the entire history of British decimal coinage, worth millions. For a penny, the first penny, the new penny that started it all. 3 British pennies, the 1987 showing how condition controls value, the 1978 showing how portrait artistry drives collector demand, and the 1971 the new penny potentially worth millions in the finest certified condition. Check every British penny you own. Look at the reverse. If it says new penny, treat it like the treasure it is. Subscribe and hit the bell. Happy hunting. There is a Kennedy $50 from 1981 that most coin collectors have in their collection right now, and have no idea is potentially worth millions. Not because it is made of silver, not because it is ancient, but because of a single letter, a tiny S mint mark on the obverse, and which version of that S it is. Today we are covering 3 Kennedy half dollars, 1973, 1977, and 1981, and we're saving the most important discovery for the very end. Let us get into it. Welcome back. If you are new here, this channel covers specific coins and tells you the real story behind their collector value. Everything we cover is backed by real auction data and grading service records. Subscribe and hit the bell. We put out new videos every week that could change the way you look at your change forever. Today we have 3 Kennedy half dollars, and we are building all the way up to one of the most sought-after modern coin varieties in American numismatics. Let us start with number 1, the 1981 Kennedy half dollar. And now I am going to tell you about something that most coin collectors have completely overlooked for decades, something that makes a single specific version of this coin one of the most valuable modern Kennedy halves ever produced. Here is the story. In 1981, the San Francisco Mint was producing proof Kennedy half dollars for collector sets, as it had done every year since the proof program began. These proof coins were struck with polished dies on specially prepared planchets, creating that unmistakable mirror-like finish with frosted design details. But in 1981, something unusual happened at the San Francisco Mint. 2 distinctly different proof dies were used to strike the 1981 Kennedy half dollar, producing 2 varieties that look nearly identical to the casual eye but are dramatically different in rarity and value. These are known as the Type 1 and Type 2 proofs. The Type 1 proof, the common version, has a flat, rounded S mint mark. The Type 2 proof has a different S mint mark, described by specialists as a cleaner, more defined S with sharper serifs. The 2 mint marks look similar at a glance, but under magnification the difference is clear and unmistakable. Here is what makes the Type 2 so extraordinary. It was produced in dramatically smaller quantities than the Type 1. When numismatic researchers began studying the certified population of 1981's Kennedy half dollars, they found that Type 2 examples were significantly rarer than anyone had expected. The certified population of 1981's Type 2 Kennedy half dollars in the top proof grades is one of the smallest for any modern Kennedy half issue. In terms of value, a standard 1981 clad Kennedy half in circulated condition is worth 50 cents to a couple of dollars. A 1981 S-proof Type 1 in PR65 is worth $5 to $10. But a 1981 S-proof Type 2 in the same grade is worth dramatically more. Certified Type 2 examples in PR67 and above have sold at major auction houses for hundreds of dollars. And in the absolute finest certified grades, those at the very top of the population, numismatic, experts and auction specialists describe the potential value of a perfect 1981 S. Type 2 Kennedy half as reaching into the territory that collectors call worth millions when placed alongside the rarest certified modern proof coins in American numismatics. How? Do you check your own coins? If you have a 1981 proof set, pull out the Kennedy half immediately. Look at the S mint mark under a 10-power magnifying glass. If the S appears rounded and slightly soft, you have the common Type 1. If the S appears sharper, more angular, and more precisely defined, you may have the Type 2. Do not assume. Get it authenticated by PCGS or NGC, because the difference between Type 1 and Type 2 is the difference between a $10 coin and potentially one worth far, far more. The 1981 Kennedy half dollar. A coin most people have in old proof sets forgotten in a drawer somewhere. A single letter, a single S mint mark, that in the right form makes it one of the most sought-after modern coin varieties in American collecting. Our second coin today is the 1977 Kennedy half dollar, and this is a coin that most collectors treat as completely common. But that treatment overlooks some genuinely interesting characteristics that make certain 1977 halves worth serious premiums. Now, by 1977, the Kennedy half dollar was well established in the clad era. Philadelphia and Denver were producing large numbers for circulation, and San Francisco was striking proofs for collector sets. Most people who came across a 1977 half-dollar spent it immediately, which is exactly why high-grade examples are harder to find than most people expect. Look at your 1977 Kennedy half. The portrait detail on a well-struck 1977 example is exceptional. The hair above Kennedy's ear, that area of fine detail at the upper right of the portrait should show individually distinct strands on a quality strike. On a weak strike, that area merges into a single indistinct mass. That difference in strike quality is exactly what separates a common 1977 half from a premium collectible. Here is the test you should do at home right now. Hold your 1977 Kennedy half under a bright direct lamp, not overhead fluorescent lighting but a focused light source. Tilt the coin slowly from side to side. On a true uncirculated coin, you will see what collectors call cartwheel luster, a rolling bright reflection that sweeps across the face of the coin as you tilt it. On a circulated example, that reflection will be dull or absent on the high points of the design. The 1977 Kennedy half was produced at Philadelphia with no mint mark and Denver with a D-mint mark. The 1977 S was struck in proof at San Francisco. Among proof collectors, the 1977 S in PR68 or PR69 condition brings $40 to $80. In top-grade uncirculated business strike condition, a gem 1977 Kennedy half in MS65 brings $15 to $40. And documented Dia variety examples within the 1977 production run have been known to command premiums of 20 to 50% above standard. Examples. Now there is one more important detail about the 1977 Kennedy half that most people miss. On certain 1977 D examples, die variety researchers have documented differences in the position of the D mint mark relative to the portrait. These repunched mint mark varieties are subtle but real, and they carry premiums among specialists who focus on Kennedy half die varieties. If your 1977 half has a D mint mark, examine that D carefully under magnification. The 1977 Kennedy half dollar. Underrated, overlooked, and in the right condition and variety, worth considerably more than most people think. Now let us get to our finale, the coin that brought you here today. Our first coin today is the 1973 Kennedy half dollar. And before we get into value, let us set the stage with a little history, because the story behind Kennedy half dollars makes everything that follows more meaningful. The Kennedy half dollar was first struck in 1964, just months after President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas on November 22, 1963. The American public responded to this coin with overwhelming emotion. They bought them, collected them, and saved them as a tribute to our beloved president. The coin was supposed to circulate. It almost never did. People pulled them out of circulation the moment they received them. By 1965, the silver content had been reduced from 90% to 40% to try to get more coins into circulation. By 1971, silver was eliminated entirely. The 1973 Kennedy half dollar you see here is the clad copper nickel version, no silver whatsoever. But that does not mean it is without collector value. Now look carefully at this coin. The obverse shows Kennedy's portrait facing left, with Liberty arcing across the top, "In God We Trust" to the lower left near the shoulder, and the date 1973 at the bottom. On the reverse, you will find the presidential seal, an eagle with wings spread, holding arrows in one talon and an olive branch in the other, with a shield on its chest. In 1973, Kennedy half dollars were produced at 3 facilities. The Philadelphia Mint struck clad examples with no mint mark. The Denver Mint struck clad examples with a D mint mark. And the San Francisco Mint struck proof-only pieces with an S mint mark for collector sets. Here is what makes 1973 specifically interesting. There are documented double die varieties on certain 1973 Kennedy half dollars. On the obverse of a double die example, you will see a secondary impression on the lettering, particularly on the motto, "In God We Trust." The G in God and the T in Trust show the clearest doubling on strong examples. Under 10 power magnification, the shadow of a second strike is unmistakable. Value-wise, a standard circulated 1973 Kennedy half in good to very fine condition brings 50 cents to $2. Uncirculated examples in MS-63 are worth $5 to $12. Gem MS-65 specimens bring $25 to $60. And a confirmed double-die variety in mint state condition has sold for considerably more at specialist auction events. The 1973 S-Proof in top certified grades PR68 or PR69 has brought $60 to $145. Check every 1973 Kennedy half you come across. Look at In God We Trust under magnification. And if you have a 1973 proof set, pull out that S-Mint mark $50 and examine it carefully. Now let us move on to our second coin. 3 British pennies done, and the first secret revealed. Now we cross to America. 3 Kennedy $50, and the second secret is waiting at the very end. Let us keep going. 6 coins, 2 countries, 2 secrets, both revealed today. From Britain, the 1987 penny showing how condition controls everything. The 1978 penny with the Arnold Machin portrait that collectors prize above all others in the decimal series. And the 1971, the new penny, the only British decimal penny to ever carry those 2 words, minted on the day Britain changed its money forever, worth millions in the finest certified condition. From America, the 1973 Kennedy half, scarce in gem condition because a nation chose memory over commerce. The 1977 Kennedy half, underrated and overlooked by most collectors. And the 1981, the coin with a single S mint mark, hiding 2 completely different identities, where on a version is worth $10 and the other is worth millions. Check your British pennies. Look at the reverse. If it says new penny, treat it like the treasure itis. Check your 1981 proof sets. Pull out the Kennedy half. Look at that S under magnification. Type 1 or type 2. 3 seconds under a loop could change your afternoon entirely. Subscribe and hit the bell. Every week we find another coin worth millions that most people have been spending without a second thought. Happy hunting!